My beloved child, you have been living in the heart of the storm for so long now that you have forgotten what silence sounds like. The constant, roaring chaos of the wind has become the only music you know. The cold, driving, and relentless rain of sorrow has become your only companion. The oppressive, thick, and seemingly permanent darkness of the storm clouds has become your only sky. You have been in this great and terrible tempest for so long that you have begun to believe a profound and a devastating lie. You have come to believe that the storm is not just a violent season you are passing through. You have come to believe that the storm is your life. It has become your new and terrible reality. The world around you, looking on from the safety of their own calm shores, has reinforced this lie in your heart. They have looked at the unrelenting and violent nature of the storm in your life, and they have offered you their flawed and often painful conclusions. Some, with the harsh and simplistic logic of a religion that does not know my heart, have judged you. They have whispered that you must have done something terrible to have caused such a disaster, that this relentless storm must be a sign of my great anger, a punishment for some secret sin you are hiding. Others, with a shallow and a useless pity, have simply shaken their heads and have told you to accept your fate. They have told you that some people are just destined for a life of turmoil, and that you should build a permanent shelter in the midst of the rain. For this is now to be your life. They have spoken of your future in hushed, sorrowful, and pitying tones, as if it has already been written, and in the roaring chaos of your own heart, in the lonely and terrifying darkness of your own experience. You have begun to believe them. You have surrendered to the storm. You have given up on the memory of the sun. You have abandoned all hope of ever feeling the warmth of my peace again. You have looked at the relentless darkness, at the violent winds, at the endless downpour, and you have concluded that the storm is endless, and that your life is destined to be lived and to end within its fury. But today, my child, I have come to you, not by shouting over the wind, but by walking on the very waters that have so terrified you. I have come to speak a word of truth into your heart, a word that is more powerful than the roar of any hurricane, a word that will begin to still the chaos within you. The storm is not your true reality. It is a temporary, a finite, and a purposeful weather pattern that is passing over the eternal and unchanging landscape of my unconditional love for you. And I have come to you today to declare a great and an unshakable promise, a promise that will become the new anchor for your soul. The storm will not last, but your peace will, before you can fully receive the promise of the coming peace. We must first, with great honor and with a deep compassion, acknowledge the full and overwhelming reality of the storm you have been living in. I do not minimize your fear or your pain. Let us speak honestly of how this storm has become your new normal. You have become so profoundly accustomed to the inner and the outer chaos that a moment of quiet now feels strange, foreign, and even unnerving to you. You have become so used to the feeling of being drenched in sorrow that a moment of genuine, uncomplicated happiness feels suspicious and untrustworthy. The constant, anxious tension of living in the storm has become the default posture of your very soul. You no longer remember how to truly rest. You no longer remember how to be at peace. The storm has not just been an external event that has happened to you. It has become an internal reality that has colonized your very being. Let us speak of the wind. This wind has been relentless. It is the wind of constant anxiety that whips your thoughts into a frantic and an exhausting frenzy. It is the wind of profound confusion that spins you around and around until you have no sense of direction, no clarity, no sense of true north. It is the wind of other people's opinions, their judgments, their criticisms, and their unsolicited advice, blowing you first one way and then another, until you no longer know what you yourself believe. You have felt tossed and driven by this wind, like a small ship without a rudder, and you have felt you have no anchor and no control. You have come to believe that this inner chaos is now a permanent and an unchangeable part of who you are. Let us speak of the rain. The rain of the storm has been a cold and an unseasoned sorrow. It has been the deep grief that has never had a chance to properly heal because the next loss, the next disappointment, has always come too quickly. It is the steady, dispiriting downpour of your own disappointments that has saturated the very soil of your heart, making it feel heavy, muddy, and waterlogged. You have felt that you are perpetually soaked in sadness, that your very soul is damp and chilled, and you have come to believe that the warm sun of your own joy will never break through these thick clouds again. You have resigned yourself to living forever in this damp, gloomy, and sorrowful landscape. And let us speak of the darkness. The thick, heavy, and oppressive clouds of this storm have created a profound and a terrifying darkness in your life. It is a darkness in which you cannot see the path ahead. It is a darkness in which you cannot see my hand at work. It is a darkness in which you cannot see any sign of hope on the distant horizon. And in this deep and disorienting darkness, your ancient adversary, the accuser, has come to you and has whispered his most potent and his most poisonous lie. He has hissed into your ear, God has left you here to perish. This storm is your end. This darkness is your final destination. And you, because you could see no evidence to the contrary, have been tempted to believe him. In the darkness, you have despaired of your own life. But my beloved child, you have been listening to the voice of the storm, and you have been believing its lies about its own permanence. But the storm is a created and a finite thing, and I am its creator. The storm is, and has always been, subject to me, and I have never, in all of eternity, created a storm that did not have a divine and a redemptive purpose, and a predetermined and an absolute end. The great lie of your enemy is that the storm is endless, but the eternal truth of your God is that it has an expiration date. And I declare to you today that its date of expiration is now drawing near. You feel the permanence of the darkness that surrounds you, but I have already decreed the coming of a new dawn. You feel the endless fury of the wind that assails you, but I have already decreed a coming season of great and profound stillness. You feel that you will surely drown in the cold rain of your sorrow, but I have already decreed a time of my divine warmth that will dry your tears, and a time of my healing joy that will restore your soul. You feel that the storm is your new and permanent reality, but I declare to you that my perfect peace is your true and your eternal reality. So I'm calling you now to listen for my voice. a voice that is deeper and more powerful than the roar of any wind. I am calling you to hear my truth, a truth that is more real than the lies of your fear. The storm is real. It is powerful, and it has been agonizingly painful. But it is not eternal. It has an end. It will not last. But the unshakable, supernatural peace that I am now, in this very moment, beginning to forge for you in the very heart of the storm, that peace. My child, will. And now that you understand that the storm itself is temporary, you must now come to understand my absolute and loving sovereignty over it. We must now speak of how I have, from the very beginning, set a boundary for this storm. You now hold in your heart my precious and foundational promise. The storm that has been raging in your life will not last, but the peace I am giving you will. But I know that this hope, while beautiful, can still feel fragile if you believe that the end of your storm is merely a matter of chance, or a product of changing circumstances, or something that you yourself must bring about. So I must now build a great and an unshakable foundation of certainty beneath that hope. You must understand not only that the storm will end, but why it will end. It will end for one reason, and for one reason alone, because I, your God, have commanded it to end. For from the very beginning of this trial, I have set a divine boundary for the storm. I know how the storm has felt to you. It has felt like a wild and a primal force of nature, untamed and untamable. It has felt like a chaotic and a malevolent power that is completely and utterly out of control in the face of its relentless fury. You have felt like a helpless and an insignificant victim, tossed about by its random whims. And in the deepest and most fearful chambers of your heart, you have wondered if anyone, even me, has been in control of its terrible intensity or its seemingly endless duration. But, my beloved child, you have been looking at the power of the storm, and you have forgotten the infinitely greater power of the one who created the sea and the sky. You have been mesmerized by the roaring of the wind and the crashing of the waves, and you have forgotten that they must all bow to the authority of the one whose very voice they must obey. I am the God who, at the dawn of creation, stood at the edge of the great and chaotic sea, and I set its boundaries. I said to it, "This far you may come, and no farther. Here is where your proud waves halt." And my child, just as I have set a permanent and an unbreachable boundary for the literal oceans of your world, so I have set a divine and a perfect boundary for the metaphorical storm in your life. It has a predetermined limit. It has an appointed end. Its fury is not limitless, for the wind and waves still know my name, and they must obey my voice. I am the Lord of the storm. Let me now reveal to you the nature of my absolute and loving sovereignty over every aspect of this trial you have endured. First, you must know that, from the very beginning, I have determined its precise duration. You have feared that this storm would last forever. You have seen no end in sight. But I tell you, from the moment the very first storm cloud appeared on the horizon of your life, I had already determined the exact day, the exact hour, and the exact minute that the storm would finally break and the sun would shine again. The duration of your trial has not been random and has not been open-ended. It has been a precise and a perfectly measured period of time. a divine season that I have designed to accomplish a perfect and a specific work in you. And I promise you this, it will not last for one single moment longer than is absolutely necessary for that glorious work to be completed. Next, you must know that I have calibrated its intensity. You have felt, at times, that the fury of the storm was completely unbearable, that you would surely be torn apart or drowned by its violence. But I have been the divine meteorologist of your personal storm. I have been controlling the atmospheric pressure of your circumstances with my own sovereign hand. I have allowed the winds of adversity to blow against you. Yes, for they were necessary to test you and to strengthen you. But I have never, for a single instant, allowed them to become a wind that would utterly destroy you. I have allowed the rains of sorrow to fall upon you. Yes, for they were necessary to cleanse you and to soften your heart. But I have never allowed them to become a great and a final flood that would drown you. My word, which cannot be broken, promises you that I will not allow you to be tempted or to be tried beyond what you are able to bear, but that with the temptation, I will always provide a way of escape, that you may be able to endure it. This has been my constant. Though unseen, work of moderation in the midst of your trial. You have felt the full fury of the storm, but I tell you the truth. You have been mercifully shielded from a fury 10 times greater, a fury that I have held back by my restraining grace. And you must know that I have ordained its purpose. This storm is not a meaningless tragedy. It is not a random act of a chaotic universe. It has a profound, a multifaceted, and a glorious purpose. It is a storm that I have designed to accomplish several things at once. It is a storm designed to demolish your old, faulty shelters and your false sense of peace. It is a storm designed to forge in you a new and an unshakable anchor for your soul, a peace that can withstand any chaos. It is a storm designed to wash the entire landscape of your life clean, preparing it for a new and a beautiful season of growth. Every single element of this storm, which has felt so chaotic and so destructive to you, has, in fact, been working together in a perfect, albeit painful, orchestrated harmony to bring about my good, my pleasing, and my perfect will for your life. And because I am the Lord of the storm, you must understand the nature of my ultimate authority. Remember the story of my son in the boat with his disciples. A great and a terrifying storm arose on the sea, and the disciples, who were experienced fishermen, were filled with fear. They believed they were about to perish. But my son was at peace, sleeping in the stern of the boat, and when they, in their panic, awoke him, he did not engage in a long and arduous battle with the storm. He did not struggle with it. He did not negotiate with it. He simply rose, and he spoke to it. He rebuked the wind, and he said to the raging sea, "Peace, be still." And my word says that the wind ceased immediately, and there was a great and a perfect calm. My beloved child, that same absolute authority resides over the storm in your life. I have, for a season, allowed it to rage for the sake of the good work it is accomplishing in you. But at the exact appointed moment, the moment when its purpose has been fulfilled, I will rise and I will speak my word of peace. Be still to the wind and the waves in your life, and they will have no other choice but to obey me, instantly and completely. Therefore, I'm calling you now to a great and a life-altering shift in your focus. For too long, you have been mesmerized by the power and the noise of the storm itself. You have been focused on the size of the waves and the fury of the wind, and this focus has filled you with fear. But I'm now calling you to, by faith, turn your eyes and your attention away from the storm and to fix them upon me, the one who is the Lord of the storm. Your ultimate security is not found in the storm ending. Your ultimate security is found in the glorious and unshakable knowledge that I am with you in the storm, and that I am, and have always been, in complete and loving control of it. The boundary for your storm has been set in the heavens. The expiration date has been written in my eternal calendar, and the final command of peace is about to be given. The storm will end, not because it will run out of its own energy, but because it will run into the firm, the unmovable, and the final boundary of my sovereign decree. And now that you know with certainty that I am in control of the storm, we must begin to speak of the first great purpose for its coming, the necessary and merciful wreckage of all your old and faulty shelters. You have now stepped into the profound and restful truth that I am the sovereign Lord of your storm. You know with a new and settled certainty that its duration, its intensity, and its ultimate purpose have always been under my loving and meticulous control. But this truth, I know, leads you to the great and honest question of why. Why would a loving God, who is in complete control, permit such a violent and painful storm in the life of his beloved child at all? The first reason, my child, is a difficult but a profoundly merciful one. The storm was sent to destroy your house, not the physical house in which you live, but the fragile, spiritual house of your false security, the collection of weak and inadequate shelters where you have placed your trust and had tried to find your peace. We must now, with honest eyes, look upon the wreckage of your old shelter. I know that as the storm has raged, you have felt that everything you have ever built, everything you have ever trusted in, everything that has ever given you a sense of safety and security has been systematically dismantled and utterly destroyed. You feel that you have been left homeless, exposed, and without any shelter at all from the howling wind and the drenching rain. You had grieved deeply for the loss of these old comforts and these old securities. You have looked at the wreckage of your former life, and you have felt that my storm has been a cruel, a relentless, and a destructive force. But my beloved child, you have been grieving the loss of shelters that were never designed to withstand the real storms of this life. You had, with the best of intentions, built the house of your security upon the shifting sands of temporary and created things. And I, the master builder, who desire to build for you an eternal and an unshakable mansion of true peace, had to first allow the storm to come and to completely demolish the weak and the unsafe structures that you had built for yourself. You thought the storm was destroying your home, but the truth is, it was only destroying your prison. My storm was an act of loving and necessary demolition, designed to destroy your false sense of peace so that you could, for the first time, discover the true one. Let us now walk together through the rubble of your former life, and let me show you the shelters that had to be wrecked for the sake of your freedom. First, and most foundational, was a shelter of your own strength and your own competence. For a long time, you found a great sense of peace and security in your own abilities. You were strong. You were intelligent. You were capable. You were resilient. You could handle things. And you took a subtle but a real pride in your own self-reliance. This was your primary shelter from the anxieties of life. But it was a shelter with a leaky roof and with walls made of straw. And the storm that I allowed to come into your life was a storm so great, so overwhelming, and so far beyond your control that it completely and utterly exceeded the limits of your own strength. It brought you to your knees. It brought you to the blessed and painful place where you had to finally admit, with all honesty, I cannot handle this. I am not strong enough. The wreckages of the shelter of self-reliance, though its loss has been painful, has been one of the greatest gifts I have ever given you, for it has forced you to finally find your true and inexhaustible strength in me alone. Next, there was the shelter of your plans and your control. You found a sense of peace in your well-laid plans, in your carefully constructed agendas, in your rational and logical sense of control over your own future. You had your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan. You had a map for your life. And you believed with all your heart that if you just followed that map precisely, you would be safe and you would be successful. But the great and sovereign wind of my storm came, and with a single, powerful gust, it blew your precious map from your hands. It tore your meticulous plans to shreds. It introduced a divine and a holy chaos into your carefully ordered life. This felt terrifying to you. It felt as though you had lost your way completely. But I had to destroy your trust in your own flawed and limited plans so that you could finally learn to trust in my perfect and all-knowing divine providence. Your plans were a fragile shelter that could only provide for the futures you could imagine. But my purpose for you is a mansion with rooms you have not even dreamed of yet. Your plans were a cage. My providence is the wide open sky. There was also the shelter of your key human relationships. You had, as is natural, built a significant portion of your emotional shelter out of your trust in certain key people in your life. Perhaps it was a spouse, or a parent, or a best friend, or a spiritual mentor. You found your security, your identity, and your sense of well-being in their love, in their approval, and in their constant presence. But the storm that I allowed in your life was designed to test every foundation, including this one, and some of those relational shelters. Because they were human, and therefore flawed, failed you in the midst of the storm. Perhaps the person you trusted most betrayed you. Perhaps the one you leaned on for strength abandoned you. Perhaps the ones you counted on for understanding misunderstood you completely. This, I know, has been one of your most painful and most personal losses. But my child, I had to allow these human shelters to fail you, not to leave you utterly alone, but to lovingly and purposefully teach you a profound and an eternal truth. I had to teach you that I, and I alone, am the only one who will never leave you, the only one who will never fail you, the only one who can bear the full weight of your trust. I am your only true and eternally safe shelter. And finally, there was the most subtle, and the most dangerous shelter of all. It was the shelter of your own religion and your own righteousness. You had built a quiet and a comfortable sense of security from your own good behavior. From your own moral uprightness, you found a sense of peace in your consistent quiet times, in your faithful service at church, in your theological knowledge, in your avoidance of major sins. This was your final and most well-hidden shelter. But the storm I sent was so great, so holy, and so revealing that it exposed the utter inadequacy of even these good things. In the midst of your profound pain, your religious duties began to feel hollow and powerless. In the face of your deep anguish, your own righteousness felt, as my prophet Isaiah declared, like a filthy rag. I had to allow this final and most prideful shelter to fail so that you would stop trusting, even in a small way, in your own righteousness. I had to bring you to a place where you would be forced to trust only in the perfect, flawless, and gifted righteousness of my own Son, which is given to you freely by my grace. The storm has now done its holy and its necessary work of demolition, and your old, unsafe shelters now lie in a heap of broken rubble all around you. And I know that you are tempted to sit down in the midst of that rubble, to weep and to mourn for what has been lost. And it is right to grieve the loss of your old comforts for a season. But I am now calling you to stand up. I am calling you to walk away from the wreckage. Do not try to sift through the rubble and to rebuild the old shelters. They have been divinely condemned. They have been proven to be unsafe. They are not fit for habitation any longer. The demolition, though painful, has been an act of my great and profound love for you. I have cleared the ground. I have exposed the shifting sand of all the temporary things upon which you have built your life. And now that the ground is clear, now that you have no other hope and no other shelter, we can finally begin the glorious work of building a new and an eternal house. A house whose only foundation is the unshakable rock of my own being. For the storm was never just about destruction. It was always about preparing the way for a new and a far more glorious construction. And to begin that construction, you will need a new and a different kind of peace. And so now, we must speak of the unshakable anchor for your soul that has been forged for you in the very heart of the chaos. You now understand and rest in the glorious truth that I am the sovereign Lord of your storm, and that its duration and its intensity have always been under my loving and purposeful control. You have also seen how the first great purpose of this storm has been a work of divine demolition, the necessary and merciful wreckage of all your old, fragile shelters where you had tried to find a false and a fleeting peace. You have been left, it may seem, with nothing at all to hold on to. A ship adrift on a raging and a terrifying sea. I know how this has felt. It has felt as though you have been cut loose from all your moorings. You have felt like a small and anchorless boat in the midst of a great hurricane. You have been tossed to and fro by the violent waves of your circumstances. You have been spun around and disoriented by the howling winds of your own fear. And in the midst of this chaos, you have searched with a desperate and a frantic heart for something solid, something stable, something to hold on to. And you have found nothing This feeling of being completely untethered, of being hopelessly adrift on a sea of turmoil, has been the source of your deepest and most profound terror. But my beloved child, you have been looking for an anchor in all the wrong places. You have been looking for an anchor in your circumstances, in your relationships, in your own strength, the very things that the storm was designed to destroy. And you have believed that the storm itself was the great enemy of your peace. You have thought that true peace could only ever be found after the storm had finally passed. But I'm here to tell you a great and a glorious paradox, a deep and a life-altering mystery of my kingdom. True, divine, supernatural, an unshakable peace is not forged in the calm. The calm can only produce a fragile and a temporary peace. True peace, the kind that can withstand any storm, is forged only in the very heart of the chaos. The storm's primary and most glorious purpose has not been to destroy your peace, but to create it. I have allowed the storm in order to forge in you a new and an unshakable anchor for your very soul. This is your new peace, forged in the chaos. To understand this, you must see yourself not just as a sailor in a storm, but as a piece of raw and unrefined iron in the hands of a master blacksmith. And your trials have been my divine forge. The raw material for this new anchor of peace was your very own brokenness. It was your final, tearful, and desperate admission of your own helplessness. It was your surrendered cry of, I cannot do this on my own. I have no strength left. I have nothing to hold on to. I took this raw, unrefined, and humble ore of your complete surrender, and I placed it into the furnace of my grace. The intense, searing heat of your daily afflictions has been my divine furnace. This fire has been profoundly purposeful. It has served to heat the very substance of your being to a molten state, so that all the impurities could be burned away. The fire has burned away the dross of your pride. It has burned away the contaminants of your self-reliance. It has burned away your impure trust in earthly things. The fire has melted you down. It has purified you, and it has prepared you to be reformed. And every single blow of hardship, every difficult circumstance, every painful event that has befallen you in this season has been a precise and a deliberate strike from my divine hammer. These have not been random or cruel beatings. Each strike has been perfectly aimed, perfectly timed, and perfectly weighted by me, the master blacksmith. And with every blow, I have been skillfully hammering your soft and purified soul into a new and a glorious shape, the shape of an anchor. I have been beating out the weaknesses. I have been strengthening the form. I have been shaping you into the very image of my Son, who is the Prince of Peace. And after being heated in the fire of affliction and shaped by the hammer of hardship, the hot and glowing metal of your soul had to be plunged into the cool waters to be tempered. This tempering process is what gives the metal its final, unbreakable strength and its resilience. And the waters into which I have plunged your soul have been the very waters of your own sorrow, your own tears. This quenching process, this baptism of your grief, has been the very thing that has given your new peace, its incredible and its lasting strength. A peace that has not been tested by the waters of sorrow is a brittle and a fragile peace. But your peace, having been heated in the furnace, hammered on the anvil, and now quenched in the waters of your own surrendered tears, is now strong. It is flexible, and it will never, ever shatter. You must now understand the nature of this new and magnificent anchor of peace that has been forged within you. It is an anchor that is designed to hold in any storm. This is not like your old, fair weather anchors, the ones that could only hold you in a calm and peaceful harbor. This anchor has been forged, tested, and proven in a Category 5 hurricane. It is designed to be dropped in the midst of the most chaotic and terrifying circumstances, and it will hold you fast. It is, as my word promises, an anchor for your soul, both sure and steadfast. It is an anchor that connects to the bedrock of my own being. Your old anchors try to hook into the shifting sands of your circumstances, your finances, your health, or your relationships. And so, when those things shifted, your anchor would always drag, and you would be thrown about by the waves. But this new anchor has a chain of faith that is long enough to pass down through the stormy waters of your emotions, down through the muddy seabed of your confusing thoughts, and to hook directly and firmly into the unshakable bedrock of my own eternal nature, my unchanging character, my sovereign power, and my everlasting love for you. And it is an internal anchor. This is a great mystery. The peace I have given you is not something outside of you that you must now strive to find. It has been forged within you. My peace, my shalom, my very own supernatural state of being, has been imparted to your spirit by my Holy Spirit. You now carry your own anchor with you wherever you go. You are a walking sanctuary of my peace. The anchor has now been forged. It is strong, it is sure, and it is eternally secure. But an anchor is useless to a ship if it is left on the deck. You must now, my child, learn how to use it. When the winds of a new anxiety begin to blow in your life, when the waves of a new fear begin to rise, you must now, by a conscious and a deliberate act of your faith, drop anchor. This is the act of turning your attention away from the storm and turning it inward to the quiet, confident, and unshakable peace that now resides in your spirit. It is a choice to place your trust not in the calmness of the sea, but in the unshakable strength of your new anchor, which is my own peace, my very own presence. Within you, the days of you being a helpless ship, tossed and driven by the wind and the waves, are now over. You are now an anchored vessel, and you can, for the first time, begin to find a place of stillness and of rest, even while the storm still rages around you. The storm was the very place where your anchor was made. The chaos has birthed your calm. And now that you have this deep and an abiding peace, we must explore the beautiful, quiet sanctuary that it has created at the very core of your being. You now hold the glorious and life-altering truth that I have forged for you, a new and an unshakable anchor for your soul, the very peace of my own being, a peace that was created and tempered in the very heart of your chaos. But I know that even as you hold on to this promise, the storm may still be raging around you and within you. Your mind may still be battered by the winds of anxious thoughts. Your heart may still feel the cold waves of sorrowful emotions. And you may be asking, How can I possess this anchor of peace when my inner world is still a hurricane? So now, we must explore the sacred geography of your inner world. I must take you by the hand and lead you on a journey inward, past the outer chaos, and into the secret sanctuary I have prepared for you. You have been trying to find peace by calming the storm outside of you. But that is an impossible task. True, divine, and lasting peace is found by discovering the place of profound stillness that I have already created inside of you. We must now speak of the eye of the hurricane. You know from the meteorologists of your world that in the very center of every great, raging, and destructive cyclone, there's a place of profound and perfect calm. It is called the eye. And while the winds in the eye wall of a storm are the most violent and destructive on the planet, reaching unimaginable speeds, the small circle of the eye is a place of eerie and beautiful peace. It is a place of light winds, of gentle air, and often of clear, blue, sunlit skies, while the world is being torn apart all around it. The eye remains a place of perfect and unshakable stillness. My beloved child, I have, by my Holy Spirit, who now dwells within you, created just such a place in the very center of your being. While the great storm of your life may continue to rage in your outward circumstances, in your physical body, and even in the stormy realms of your mind and your emotions, there's a deep and a sacred sanctuary of stillness at the very core of your spirit where I dwell. And it is in this place that you can now learn to live. The great secret to your peace is not in stopping the storm, but in learning how to find and to abide in the eye. This is the great secret of finding the stillness at your core. How do you make this inward journey? How do you travel from the terrifying chaos of the storm's eye wall to the profound peace of its eye? It is a journey that requires a new kind of awareness, a new spiritual discipline. The journey begins by understanding the different layers of your own being. The outermost layer is your physical body. Your body feels the storm. It feels the tension in your shoulders, the knot in your stomach, the pounding of your heart. It is constantly sending loud and urgent signals of alarm to your brain. To begin your inward journey, you must first learn to gently acknowledge these physical signals without being ruled by them. You must learn to say to yourself with a quiet compassion, yes, my body feels the storm. It is afraid, but my body is not the truest part of me. It is only the outer shell. You must learn to breathe deeply into the places of tension, and with every exhale, to consciously release your body's grip on the fear. The next layer we must travel through is the stormy and chaotic realm of your soul. This is your mind, your will, and your emotions. And for you, this realm has been the very eye wall of the hurricane. Here, the violent winds of your anxious thoughts howl with a relentless fury. Here, the great, cold waves of your sorrow and your grief crash down upon you again and again. Here, the sharp lightning of your angry and your self-critical thoughts flash, and the loud thunder of your own inner striving rumbles without end. This is where the chaos has been the loudest. And for your entire life, you have lived in this realm, believing that this chaotic world of your thoughts and your emotions was the totality of who you are. And as long as you live on this surface level, you will never know true peace. But I am now teaching you a profound and a liberating truth. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the one who is aware of your thoughts and your emotions. I am, by my grace, giving you the ability to take a single step back from the fury of the eye wall. I am teaching you how to become the quiet, compassionate observer of your own inner storm, rather than being a helpless victim who is being endlessly tossed about by it. You can learn to watch the great waves of fear and sadness rise and fall without being swept away by them. You can learn to notice your anxious thoughts without believing them. This discipline of gentle detachment, of non-judgmental observation, is the key that will allow you to move inward, toward the quiet center. And as you begin to practice this holy detachment from the storm of your soul, you will begin to perceive something else. It will be faint at first, but it is there. It is a deeper place, a quieter place, a more real place. This is the innermost sanctuary of your own regenerated spirit. This is the part of you that was made new at the moment of your salvation. It is the part of you that is in a perfect and an unbroken union with me. It is the holy of holies of your own being, the place where my own Holy Spirit has taken up his eternal residence. And in this place, my child, there's no storm, there's no chaos, there's no fear, there's no anxiety, there's no striving. There's only my presence. And my presence is perfect, unshakable, and glorious peace. This is the eye of your storm, and it has been there, within you, all along, patiently waiting for you to discover it. So how do you learn to live in this place? How do you make this inward journey a daily and even a moment by moment practice? It is a discipline of intentionally and consciously turning your attention inward. It is the practice of prayer, not as speaking your long list of needs, but as a quiet and a reverent listening. It is the practice of meditation on my word, allowing its truth to sink past your noisy mind and into your quiet spirit. It is the practice of consciously choosing, in a moment of outward or inward chaos, to take a deep breath and to retreat into this inner sanctuary. This eye of the storm is a portable fortress of peace that you can access at any time, in any place. When you are in a difficult meeting at work, when you're in a painful conversation with a loved one, when you're lying in a hospital bed, you can, with a simple inward turn of your attention, retreat into the eye and find me there, waiting for you with my peace. I am now calling you to become a holy explorer of your own inner world. I want you to begin to practice this inward journey every single day. Do not wait for the next great storm to try and find the eye. Practice finding it in the midst of your small, daily frustrations and your minor anxieties. The more you practice accessing this place of profound peace in the small storms, the easier and more natural it will be for you to find it and to abide in it when the great storms of life come. You are no longer a person who is at the complete mercy of your own inner chaos. You are a person who now carries within you a secret, a holy, and an unshakable sanctuary of divine peace. The storm may not have completely passed on the outside of your life, but you have now discovered a new and a glorious way to live on the inside. You have found the eye of the hurricane, and this deep, this abiding, and this supernatural peace will now become the solid foundation upon which I will begin to build your new. You're restored, and your lasting joy. You have taken the inward journey. My beloved, you have discovered the profound and unshakable sanctuary of peace that resides at the very core of your being, the place where I dwell. You have found the eye of the hurricane, and you are learning that it is possible to be at rest in your spirit, even while the storms of life rage around you. This is a great and a glorious victory, but my ultimate desire for you is not just that you would find peace in the storm, it is that you would also see the storm itself come to an end. It is my delight to bring you not only inner peace, but also outward peace. And I declare to you today that the time for that has now come. You have bravely and faithfully endured the long night. You have weathered the full fury of the wind and the rain and the storm. In my perfect wisdom, has now accomplished its deep, its painful, and its holy work in you. It has demolished your false shelters. It has washed the landscape of your soul clean, and it has forged in you anew an unshakable anchor of true, divine peace. And because its great and redemptive purpose is now complete, I, the sovereign Lord of the storm, the one who commanded it to come, now speak a new and a final word to it. I declare that the season of your great trial is now ending. The storm is now passing. How will you know this is true? How will you recognize the passing of the storm that has been your only reality for so long? I will give you clear and undeniable signs. You must now become a diligent watcher of the spiritual weather pattern of your life, for it is changing before your very eyes. First, you will notice the calming of the winds. Listen with your spirit. The howling wind of chaos and confusion that has kept your life in a state of constant and exhausting upheaval is now beginning to lose its fury. I am speaking my word of peace over the circumstances of your life, and the wind must obey me. You will begin to notice a new and a surprising stability returning to your days. The frantic pace will begin to slow. The constant, overlapping crises will become less and less frequent. A sense of order, of clarity, and of a blessed and holy predictability, things you have not known for a very long time, will begin to return to your life. The violent winds of chaos are now subsiding into a gentle and a peaceful calm. Next, you must look up, my child, and you will witness the breaking of the clouds, the thick, heavy, an oppressive blanket of gray clouds that has obscured your vision and has filled your world with darkness for so long is now beginning to break apart. As you look up at the sky of your life, you will begin to see small and then larger patches of brilliant, heavenly blue. The deep and disorienting confusion that has been your constant companion will begin to lift like a morning fog. You will begin to understand things about your journey and about my ways that were once a complete mystery to you. And through those beautiful parting clouds, the warm, the hopeful, and the life-giving light of my presence and my favor will begin to shine down upon you once again. Your season of being hidden and lost in the darkness is over, and you'll feel the ceasing of the rain, the cold, drenching, and seemingly endless rain of your sorrow, the constant downpour of your grief and your disappointment that has so thoroughly saturated your soul is now softening to a gentle and a cleansing shower. And soon, even that will cease altogether. This does not mean that you will never feel a moment of sadness again, for you live in a world where loss is real. But the long and overwhelming season of being perpetually drenched in sorrow is over. I am now, as my word has promised, personally wiping the tears from your eyes. I am bringing a new and a divine warmth into your heart that will begin to dry the damp and mildewed places of your soul. The season of your deep and heavy mourning is ending, and a new season of lightheartedness is beginning. And what is the first sound you hear after a great storm has passed? It is the beautiful, tentative, and then confident singing of the birds. They are the joyful heralds of a new, a clean, and a peaceful world. And so it will be in your soul. You will now begin to hear the first beautiful notes of your own joy returning to your heart. You may be driving in your car or doing a simple task, and you will find yourself, to your own astonishment, humming a happy tune. You will find a reason to truly laugh again, a deep and a genuine laugh that you thought was lost to you forever. You will feel a new and a resilient hope begin to sing a new song within your spirit. This is the sound of life, of joy, of praise, returning to the now peaceful land of your soul. And after the storm has fully passed, I will place my rainbow in the clouds for you. It will be a great, a visible, and an undeniable sign of my covenant faithfulness to you. It will be a specific and a tangible blessing in your life, perhaps a miraculously restored relationship, a surprising new opportunity, a sudden financial breakthrough, something so beautiful, so unexpected, and so full of my divine color and my extravagant grace that it will serve as an eternal reminder to you. It will be my personal promise to you that I am the God who keeps his promises, the God who brings his beloved children safely through every single storm. I know that you have become so accustomed to living in the storm that you will be tempted to believe that this new calm is just a temporary lull. You will fear that it is just the eye passing over you, and that the other side of the storm will soon hit with an even greater fury. But I declare to you today, this is not a temporary lull. This is a permanent and a lasting change in the spiritual weather pattern of your life. The storm has accomplished its holy and its perfect work. It has taught you what it needed to teach you. It has forged in you what it needed to forge, and its purpose is now complete. You must now, by a courageous act of your faith, accept that the storm is truly over, and that a new and a lasting season of peace has finally arrived. The storm will not last. Its time is over. It has now passed. But the profound, the unshakable, and the supernatural peace that it has so painfully and so beautifully forged within your soul, that peace, my beloved child, it will last forever. And now that the storm is gone and the calm has come, you must now learn how to live in this new and beautiful peace. You must learn how to anchor your soul in the lasting calm. The great and terrible storm has now passed. The howling winds of chaos have ceased. The thick, oppressive clouds have parted, and the warm, brilliant sun of my goodness is now shining upon the clean, quiet, and rain-washed landscape of your life. You have been brought out of the tempest and into a new season of profound and beautiful calm. But my beloved child, you have been a storm dweller for so very long that you may not know how to live in this new and unfamiliar peace. You have become an expert in survival. But you are a novice in the art of tranquility. You must now learn the holy art of living in the lasting calm that I have purchased for you at such a great price. I know the new fear that will now try to assail your heart. It is the fear of another storm. You will be tempted to live in a state of constant, anxious vigilance, forever scanning the horizon for the first sign of a new dark cloud. You will be tempted to be unable to truly enjoy the beauty and the peace of your present calm for fear of a future turmoil. You have been through so much that your very soul has been conditioned to expect the worst. And the enemy of your peace will try to convince you that this calm is just a temporary lull, a brief and fragile truce that will soon be shattered by the next inevitable disaster. But you must understand the nature of the peace I have given you. The old, false peace you once knew was a fragile peace of a perfectly calm and windless sea. And that kind of peace is a mere circumstance. And circumstances are, by their very nature, always changing. But the peace I have now forged in you during the storm is of a completely different and a supernatural substance. It is an anchor, and the purpose of a great and heavy anchor is not to prevent all future waves from ever coming. The purpose of an anchor is to hold the ship steady, secure, and safe when the waves do come. You must now learn how to live an anchored life. This is the sacred art of anchoring your soul in my peace. How do you live this new, anchored life? It is a life that is cultivated through the gentle, joyful, and daily practice of several new disciplines of the heart. First, you must begin every single day with the discipline of dropping anchor. Before you engage with the demands and the potential storms of your day, before you check your messages or read the news, you must first take a few moments to be still and to consciously drop the anchor of your soul deep into the reality of my presence. In that quiet morning moment, you must intentionally connect with the deep, quiet, peaceful place of your spirit where I dwell. You must remind your own soul the truth. My peace is not dependent on my circumstances today. My peace is a person, and he lives within me. This simple, daily practice sets your anchor for the day so that when the small waves of daily frustration, or even the larger waves of new challenges, begin to roll, you will not be so easily moved. Next, you must practice the discipline of staying in the boat. In this life, new challenges and difficult circumstances will arise. This is a certainty. And when they do, your old, ingrained instinct, born of your past trauma, will be to panic and to jump out of the boat. To jump out of the boat is to leave the place of restful trust in me and to dive headfirst into the stormy waters of your own anxiety, your own fear, and your own frantic striving to fix the problem. But now, you must practice the discipline of staying in the boat. This means that you must refuse to allow your outward circumstances to dictate your inner state. You are to remain seated in the boat of my presence, with your soul firmly anchored in my peace. And from that place of security, you are to look at the new wave with a quiet and a holy confidence, knowing with an absolute certainty that your anchor will hold you fast. This is a profound act of faith, a refusal to partner with anxiety, a declaration that your peace is more powerful than your problem. You must also learn the discipline of speaking peace. Your words have a creative power. In the past, in the midst of your storm, you have often spoken words of anxiety, of fear, and of despair. And those words have only served to stir up the storm in your own heart and in the hearts of those around you. But now, you are to learn to speak from your new place of peace. Let your words, even in the midst of a difficult situation, be calm, be gentle, be steady, and be filled with faith when others around you are in a panic. You are now commissioned to be the non-anxious presence in the room. When others are speaking words of fear, you are to speak a quiet but a powerful word of hope. Your words of peace, flowing from the deep and anchored place of your soul, will become a source of supernatural comfort and stability for all who hear them. Your very voice will become an anchor for others. And finally, you must cultivate a deep and an abiding gratitude for the calm. You must never again take a moment of peace for granted. At the end of each day, I want you to learn to take a moment and to thank me for the peace you have experienced. Thank me for the moments you were not anxious. Thank me for the challenges that you face with a calm spirit. Thank me for the quiet in your soul. Gratitude is the powerful spiritual force that keeps your heart tethered to the great anchor of my peace. A grateful heart is a peaceful heart. As you begin to practice these simple but profound disciplines, you will become an unshakable person. This does not mean that you will live a life that is free from all problems. It simply means that your problems will no longer have the power to control your inner state. You will be like a great and a sturdy ship, resting securely at anchor in a safe and beautiful harbor, able to watch the waves of life rise and fall on the surface without being thrown into a state of panic or despair. This is the abundant life of peace that I've always intended for you. And so, my beloved child, who now rests in the deep and quiet waters of my peace, our journey of revelation has come to its close. From the terrifying and seemingly endless reality of the storm, you have come to understand the glorious truth of my sovereignty over it. You have seen how the storm was my loving tool to demolish your false shelters and to forge in you an unshakable and an eternal anchor. You have discovered the sacred sanctuary of stillness, the eye of the hurricane that resides within your own spirit. You have heard my divine declaration that the storm has now passed, and you have been given the simple, beautiful instructions for how to live in this new and lasting calm. I want you to imagine yourself now. See yourself not as a battered survivor, but as a magnificent ship, resting at anchor in a calm and beautiful harbor. The water is like glass. The sun is warm upon your deck. The storm is a distant memory, and you are safe. You are secure. You are at peace. This is not a temporary port of call. This is your new home. This is your new reality. The storm truly will not last. It is over. But your peace, which is my peace, will forever